For the past 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, Nigeria has been having challenges that are beckoning and waiting for answers and solutions. That is why we are bringing to you our program, State of the Nation. And this is going to come up on our flagship program this morning on ITV. I am hereby inviting you to join me, Bola Bakare, your host, on State of the Nation, so that we can hasten the motions that brings national development. It's going to be a regular basis on Tuesdays. Make it a date with me. I'll be there waiting for you, and then we shall discuss Nigeria on an holistic level.
Good morning and welcome to your lofty program, State of the Nation, where we hasten the motions for national development. And on this morning brief, we're going to go a little bit further than national development. We're diving and anchoring on World Humanitarian Day for 2022. Seriously, we should all think in terms of this Humanitarian Day. Why? Because there are a lot of things, bad things are happening. Situations, disasters are happening here and there, both man-made and by Mother Nature. And there are some people who put their lives on the line just to make sure that victims of all these circumstances do get succor. And honestly, the human life is what we are going to value the most on this World Humanitarian Day. It is for those we are eulogizing, where with the accolade is for those that put their lives on the line in the quest for bringing succor to victims of disasters. And honestly, if we look at it closely, we will know that Nigeria is part of the world too. Global Village, we're part of it. And on a serious note, we celebrated it too. And Mr. President, in his aptitude, felt, okay, where in Nigeria do I have the worst case of humanitarian disaster? Honestly, let's tell ourselves the truth. It is the Northeast. And Mr. President took it upon himself, took a trip to the Northeast, and celebrated the Humanitarian Day in the Northeast. Let's take a look at that trip he made to the Northeast.
The arrival of the special guest of
Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Muhammad.
World Humanitarian Day is commemorated every year on 19th of August to pay tribute to humanitarian workers killed and injured in the course of their work, and to honor all the aid and health workers who continue, despite the odds, to provide life-saving support and protection to people most in need.
I therefore implore you not to relent in your efforts. Continue to take the fight to their hideout and ensure they are completely eliminated. Let me use this medium to invite all relevant agencies to continue to provide support to the government's drive to stabilize the IDPs care for victims of insurgency, as well as commitment to the ongoing processes concerning Boko Haram ISWAP members who are willing to surrender.
Mr. President, insecurity has dire consequences, as we've already talked about, and we will continue to advocate for a safe and secure operational environment. The people suffering the greatest consequences of this insecurity are, of course, the affected citizens themselves. I am especially concerned at this moment about the food security and nutrition situation in the...
That trip that Mr. President made to the Northeast, you can see from his speech, he made a speech about what is necessary for us to do in terms of that humanitarian day. What is necessary in taking care of our people that have become victims in terms of this war that is in the Northeast. Not only did he talk about it, The governor of Borno State, Babagana ZULUM, also said the same thing about what is happening out there and what they are doing to make sure that they bring succor to the people. Like we said earlier, it is United Nations Humanitarian Day. So also Matthias Skalmer, the regional man here in Nigeria, spoke about it too. He gave accolade to Mr. President for what he has done in trying to bring succor to the victims and vis-a-vis IDPs. So also he is Babagana ZULUM, governor of Borno State. During this trip of Mr. President, he visited a few places. He visited NCFRMI, that is the National Commission for Refugees, Migrants and IDPs, in company of the governor of the state and the Honorable Minister for Humanitarian Affairs. All they were able to do along the line was he was able to commission housing units for teachers and also a 500 unit for quarters for IDPs that are coming back home. Honestly, at this juncture, Mr. President was able to give word and directed the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs to address the urgent needs and commitment to mitigate the effects of all these disasters on the IDPs. Part of this is the element of the housing for them, because in most cases we all were conversant with the news. When the war, that insurgency was raging, their homes were probably in most cases burnt down, and then they don't have anything to do. Their homes are gone. But fair enough, the federal government, vis-a-vis the ministry in charge, the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and the governor and the state of Borno State, were able to put together housing units for people that were displaced. Because honestly, this was what part of the things that Mr. President said to them, that look, there is emerging issues that borders on the return and rehabilitation of displaced persons. Because there is nothing we wish more for them than to say, okay, you've been displaced. It is the duty of the government, part of our constitution, that says the first duty of the government is the welfare of the people. So in that wise, Mr. President makes sure he said it categorically that they should make sure that IDPs that do want to return should return and be rehabilitated appropriately. And honestly, for these housing units have been provided for them. And this is a good one coming from the government. And I guess we as a people, we need to think along one line, that we are our brother's keepers. There is a balance that says it takes a village to raise a child. But I'll say this, it takes a community to help people in distress. The IDPs, they've been displaced. They've had situations where they've moved to host communities. Some they were not well taken, some they were well taken. But I am saying it to us right now today that it is our business as a community to take care of ourselves and be our brother's keeper. Honestly, you never know when disaster is going to strike. Disaster in itself is in two folds. It's either it's man-made in terms of wars and insurgency, or it is by Mother Nature. When Mother Nature displaces us, there is nothing we can do than to say, okay, God, be on our side. The government, the ministry, be on our side. And the host community too, to be on our side. So that is why I'm emphatically saying it, that let us be our brother's keeper and take charge when it comes to people that are displaced. We call them IDPs. At times we look at them with disdain. But we are not praying that whatever they are going through happens to us all. But when it happens to one of us, we should be able to take care of them too. Along this line, I am saying one thing, that thank God for Mr. President, thank God for governors like Babagana ZULUM, who is getting the biggest brunt of these displaced Nigerians. And at the same time, Humanitarian Affairs is doing its own bit. Because when it comes to disasters, it's an accident. And the simple definition for an accident is an unforeseen occurrence. And that is why the ministry is there, and it has all these departments, the NSIP, the NCTO, NEMA, and the rest of them to make sure that they bring succor to the people on a regular basis. There is no way we end this without talking in terms of the global village. Honestly, most of what is happening to us in the world today is man-made. Climate change is there. Climate change is turning us into IDPs. This is not a case of war. This is a case of a man-made situation that is not war. But because we pushed Mother Nature to the wall, Mother Nature is beginning to behave along unsavory lines. Take, for instance, what happened at the COP26 that happened in Glasgow. All the big nations on earth were saying, yes, we're trying to curb our industrialization, the carbon emission, and the rest of it. But at the end of the day, civil society organizations and observers say COP26 in Glasgow did not achieve anything. In honest truth, it was a failure in itself. These are part of the things that create IDPs all over the world. This time around, it's not just in Nigeria, all over the world. And the thing is, we need to look at it from a global angle. That whatever it is that is happening in Nigeria, because these days we're having flood like the one we had in Jigawa that was so inundating that NEMA has to step into it. But all these are things that we caused on a global scale. There is global warming, there is flooding everywhere, there is heat waves, there were effects of bushfires, there are water scarcity where there's never been before, there are droughts all over the world. And the simple thing is, the industrialized nations are saying, yes, we will curb carbon emissions. And the other nations like we, Nigeria, they will give us money to kind of make us survive. Honestly, it shows how mean human beings are to